largest media tech entity in the country. While we began as a really small unit of 5, we grew to the size of 100 members in 3 years and over 300 members in 5 years. From a revenue standpoint, we have grown from being a 2.5 crore top-line brand in the first year to about 100 crores in 5 years, with operations across SEA, CGG, from PwC as a financial consultant, spreading out his wings to Web 18, to TIL as a content marketer, and eventually leading up to set up Folk Media. Well, that seems as quite a journey. Don't you think, guys? A round of applause. A few words, please.
That's quite an introduction. Thank you, Chandni. Yeah, and it's GCC, not CGG. Just saying. But thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for coming here. Thank you for the support. I think this is a very big event for us. Thank you, Sunny. Thank you, ma'am, for being a part of this. And thank you for coming on board on How to Fly. It's a very significant day for us. It's a very significant move for us. We do hope to kind of go strength to strength from here. The next 3 or 5 years, we are looking at kind of taking leadership position in the space that we're in, which is media tech. And that is the ambition for us. We would start by kind of revealing our first collaboration with Sunny, which is the video that we did. We were all on tenterhooks because we wanted to make sure that we were kind of matching up to every bit that Sunny expected from us, and I hope we've done that. I think you've seen the video. Would love to understand what your feedback on that is. So I think let's start with the video to begin with, and then we can get on to the panel discussion if that's fine with the audience. Yeah? Okay, lovely. Let's do this.
Some call me an actor. Some say I'm a superstar. पर किसी ने मुझसे नहीं पूछा कि मैं कौन हूँ. कौन हो तुम? When I look in the mirror, what do I see? I see good days, bad hair days, messy buns, and getting stuff done. As I shake it free, this is my crown and I wear it as I want. This is the confident me. Sanitary pad के ads में women bleed blue. And when I'm getting ready for a meeting, you ask, red lips क्यों? Your world is black and white, but for me, लाल सिर्फ मेरा खून नहीं, मेरा जुनून भी. This is the bolder me. Black, white, rainbow, wanna know my dress code? I wear what I want. Wild is my favorite color. In a world full of trends, I am a classic. This is the bindas me. Check, check, mic check. If you haven't heard, I like my paychecks fair and square. So why should it matter if it's his or hers? Before you mansplain the gap in pay, let me just say, you'd rather spoil me with loyalty? I can finance myself anyway. This is the unabashed me. Apple, pear, hourglass, birthday suit or decked up in jewels. Your body, your rules. My worth cannot be measured by the size of my waist. I am more than enough, I've got that aced. This is the empowered me. बचपन में हमें सिखाया था, roses are red and violets are blue. But if I can mind my own business, why can't you? This is the unapologetic me. Be a voice, not an echo. Be the better you with How to Fly.
Guys, can you have a big round of applause for this one? I think it's a fabulous effort on Sunny's part. Thank you. Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to be referring to my notes. Don't go by that prolific introduction that she did. I'm a bit slow on this one. So I'm going to start by kind of just calling the panel on stage. I'll start with the star, of course. Yeah. Thank you. I needed that. We'll start with Sunny first. Actress, superstar in every right, philanthropist, and more importantly, inspiration to millions of women who look up to you for having led your life with utmost dignity and respect, ma'am. Can we please have you on the stage? Can we have a big round of applause for Sunny, please? Where am I supposed to sit? I've been told I have to look in the camera there, so I think I'm sitting. Second from the left, which is my left? Oh shit! Oh, this one. Yeah, I'm sitting here. Yeah. Okay. Lovely. The next guest is a prolific marketeer, ex-marketing director, Pepsi, Vani Gupta. Vani has had a long, rewarding career of over 20 years, starting with advertising across a bunch of MNCs like PepsiCo, Unilever, and Reckitt Benckiser. Vani Gupta, can we please have you on the stage, ma'am? I definitely will, I promise you that. I'll make up for all the paparazzi there. Okay, the next guest in the panel is somebody from one of my favorite brands in terms of content marketing. It's Bacardi. Eshita Jaiswal. Eshita Jaiswal is the digital head for Bacardi across India and Southeast Asia and leads digital strategy, social media, content marketing for iconic brands like Bacardi, Breezer, Grey Goose, Bombay Sapphire, Devars, William Lawson's. Ma'am, can you do a barter, please? Is that possible? Eshita Jaiswal, can you please have her on the stage, guys? A big round of applause. The next and the last guest that we have is somebody from Reckitt Benckiser, Bhavna Mittal. Bhavna Mittal is the head of media, digital, and communication with a career span of more than 20 years. She's been associated with various reputed brands and campaigns. Bhavna is the regional head of media and digital for R&B. Guys, can we have a big round of applause for the panel, please? Who needs a mic? I think I have one. You have one. Wow. I have to admit, I'm a bit nervous here in the company of these absolutely esteemed women here. Pardon me, I'm a nervous wreck right now. But I'm going to start by kind of opening the floor here with a very simple question that I've had in my mind. You know, when I was looking at the profiles of all four of you, the first question that hit me was that, is glass ceiling really a myth? Because look at the four of you. You've kind of shattered every notion of glass ceiling in your respective careers. Does it really exist across the industry, across professions, across careers? Because if it really did, would the four of you really be where you are today? Or is it really something that exists and we've had to kind of fight hard to battle the glass ceiling that really exists there? So, I mean, it's an open question for the floor.
Okay, let me take a stab at it. I think it definitely does exist. It's not a myth. It is very, very true. And it's not just the big understanding of what is the glass ceiling. It's also the many different small ways in which women find themselves disadvantaged or discriminated against. And I think it's a constant struggle, especially when there are very few women at the top, you know, and especially where there are very few women breaking stereotypes. And Sunny's smiling at me because she has such a powerful story of her own. But for a lot of us in the corporates, I can tell you, because there are such few women at the top, you're constantly battling stereotypes. You're constantly battling the notion that you yourself are alone. So a lot of times, actually, it's a battle with yourself, because you have to keep telling yourself that even though mine is the only voice, I must make it heard for the sake of the many women who might hopefully someday come to where I am.
Okay, I completely agree with you. In fact, the glass ceiling definitely exists. I know there are a lot more women today that are breaking through and shattering through and sort of provide that inspiration for other younger women out there. And not just in the field of corporates, I feel across the board. Like you look at an initiative like Girls Who Code. It's a global initiative, and it was primarily done because somebody on a US campaign trail discovered that there aren't enough women in computer sciences. And coding and technology is the way of the future, as we all know with folk media and the kind of solutions you guys are doing. But that doesn't seem to be the case. And that's why a lot of initiatives now are being taken up. I fear implementation is a challenge, and that's something that needs to be large scale. And in India, the interpretation of glass ceiling is very different, right? So a glass ceiling for somebody else might be my everyday. So I work in an alcohol industry, right? But I have colleagues who are female, who have to have like clearly take a stand to say yes with their in-laws, for instance, to say yes, I can work in an alcohol industry and it's not a vice, it's a lifestyle, right? And that for me, I could take it as, okay, this is my norm. But for somebody else, it's completely different. Just a story, for instance, of a colleague of mine is transitioning from being a male to a female in the office. And just for something as small as which washroom should I use, right? For me, that's such a normal thing. But for somebody else, that's their glass ceiling. So it's so different for each strata, each kind of person. And it definitely does exist in India for sure. There are steps that are being taken, but I feel platforms like this are super important to build that even further.
Sure.
Okay, so just really to the point, Eshta and Vani, and I would love to hear your comments on it, Sunny, because you come from a slightly different industry than the three of us are here. But Samar, just to ask you a question, how difficult did you find us to get us three here in the first place? Because if you knew that you had to get a mix of guys and girls, it would have been far easier. Sure. But getting three women on top here and be like sidelined here, it would have been a bit of a difficult task.
No, I completely agree. And I'll tell you this, that I've also seen a lot of progress in the last 2 years. The number of women that I'm seeing in the management teams, and I can tell you that my company, which is Fork, is a living example of that. And I look around in the office and I find so many more women that are kind of completely shattering this notion of glass ceiling, and are coming out in management positions and are kind of completely breaking any level of preconceived notions that you've had around women leadership.
Yeah. But I think, that's happening in the new age companies. If you go back to slightly more traditional companies like the ones which Vani and I come from, there you will still not find women really breaking through. So there, I know that after a point in time, there is somewhere where beyond this, either I move out or I decide to do what I am and be happy with it. So, just actually coming straight to the elephant in the room, but that's what it is. Because you know that there is a boys club there is this alpha male club which is there, and you, even if you are better than them, you might be as good as them, but you have to have a far more daunting approach to take on the world, and that's where the strength in numbers comes in, which Vani mentioned, because there would be one or two women, the boards, the Indian company laws say that you need to have one women director. One women director is too less, because she's sidelined, she's not going to go into the smoking room and where all the decisions are made. So it exists, and it is a fact which we all battle every single day.
Sure. Sunny, do you want to comment on this?
The glass ceiling. I call them the glass ceiling or a wall or a bumper. I think that every single person in business goes through this. In my experience, I've hit a lot of those walls, a lot of those bumps, a lot of those ceilings. But I do have an amazing team around me, which I give credit to. But I also think that those glass ceilings and those barriers and those barricades and bumpers are actually a tool to learn something. I am not in the corporate world, so I don't know what that feels like. But I do run my own world, and I do know the difficulties that I face, that my team faces, that we face on a daily, or that we face on, maybe it's every 6 months. Something insane comes our way, and it's horrible. The amount of press that subject gets, or things that happen. And all I have to say is that I've grown from those. And there's no one that can stop me. There's no one that can completely barricade me and put me in a cage and tell me no. That's how I see it. And the more someone tells me no, the more someone puts up those barricades, the more I fight. But that's my personality, and I know that there's a lot of women out there that feel like maybe they're alone, or maybe that they can't do it. And something that I learned a really long time ago was, if you're not gonna ask, then you're not gonna get it. If you're not gonna say, I want this, then it's never gonna come to you. If you don't voice what you want, then you're never gonna get there. Maybe it's more difficult, trying to get into that room where decisions are made, but, until you start saying it over and over again, maybe not your situation, but maybe somebody else's, that as a woman, you have to voice what you want. And then you say, I want this, how am I gonna get there? And if you're going to put a barrier up, how do I get around that barrier? Because I know I'm better than you. I know I work harder than you, and I know my trade or craft anything better than you do, whether you're a male or a female. So it's also, I think, a personal journey, like you had mentioned.
Yeah, I think that's beautifully said. Really, Sunny, that's really beautifully said. It speaks a lot of the kind of power and resilience that you have inside of you. But I think the point one was trying to make was the fact that one should have to do this. One should have to prove to oneself and to others that I am better than you. I know I'm better than you. I know I worked hard and I can deliver more than you. The fact that one has to do this can sometimes be exhausting.
Oh, and it's exhausting every single day.
Exactly. So, and I think that's where the tension is, and that's the tension that we are addressing in this conversation, which is, why is it that women have to try so much harder when women are fundamentally, and research has proven so, in so many aspects of leadership, in so many aspects of collaboration, of nurturing, of integration, of bringing people together, are able to deliver so much more. It's been proven in research. It's been, we see it in the small networking groups, at levels where there are more women. And yet, women have to work as hard to get to the top, and there just aren't enough women at the top.
Yeah, I agree with you. In fact, you would completely agree with this, but the kind of funding that women entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs that are led, like entrepreneurships that are led by females, is far lesser than what men get. And it's globally. It's Silicon Valley all the way down to India and the venture funding that happens here. And it's been proven, like you said, that there was a study that was done which said that women who have more executives and board members, those companies have 74% or something more return on equity. So, I mean, there's data to prove it, but the thinking and the mindset needs to start moving beyond that. And the other thing that starts to happen is then a lot of the women who are, we're a bunch of outspoken, fearless women out here, but there are a lot of women who sort of then go into their shell. And then you get the imposter complex, where you're like, am I even in the right place? There's a lot of self-doubt, there's a lot of self-esteem challenges where when you're alone in the boardroom or you're alone in a big group full of men, where you really wouldn't necessarily want to speak out, and you just want to sort of settle in and belong rather than make a name or have your point of view out there.
But then maybe she's not supposed to be there. I agree with a lot of things that you say, but then I have this feeling that if I feel so insecure and if I feel so in my shell, then maybe I should grow a pair and speak up, because a lot of people don't do that. And I think when you're speaking or anybody here is speaking, it's because we have figured out how to speak out. And that woman that's sitting in that boardroom and going, oh, I'm so scared to speak, or I have this issue, let me tell you, in my household all the time. These women who work around well, we all sat there and got an injection and saw the doctor, but why didn't you speak up? And I say this to women all the time, but that sort of mentality I feel is so hard to change. Now, what are the steps in your opinion? How do you change that?
So, firstly, I feel going back to why. Like, a lot of it is societal conditioning of how, as a society, women are not necessarily meant to be heard. And that's something that over the years and with movements like Me Too, sort of a lot more women sort of speak up, feel like this is what I'm worth and I should be there and speak about it. And I feel like the more we sort of facilitate movements and platforms like that, the more women who definitely deserve to be where they are feel far more self-assured to go out there and do a lot more. And I feel role models, like you said, right? Having a book like, say, Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg got a whole lot more women to say, okay, I can be ambitious without being considered bossy in the boardroom. And a lot of it is, I feel, very, very strong conditioning. Like, I think we're fortunate to be from families which are fairly liberal about these things. But to fight that, you do need strength. And it either comes from a sisterhood or a team that supports you the whole way through.
Sure.
So if a
sorry.
woman,
Can
so,
I just
so if
add
a
a
woman
little-
is stuck
yes.
in a room and it's just her and 5 men, does she not feel that validation of sitting there? Or does she still feel scared? What does she do to grow out of that?
You're absolutely right, Sunny. Actually, the thing is, this is not something that plagues women alone. This is actually personality types. Because what you're talking about is the ability to have, the ability to speak up. It's about having the confidence of knowing that if I have a point of view, I must put it out there. There's doctors in the room, you didn't speak up for 30 minutes, for God's sake, when the doctor was there, why didn't you speak? Oh, I was feeling very shy, I didn't know how to talk about this, what would he think about blah? But this is not something that plagues women alone. There are enough number of introvert men as well. I think this is more a personality type. And the problem is that when we have discussions like these, it is not about specifically only addressing women. It's actually about addressing the need for having diverse opinions and the need for respecting, like you talked about that case in your office about this person who's going through a sex change, but the ability for us to collectively respect and give dignity to diverse opinions, because everybody doesn't have to be, oh, I'm out there and I have the ability to sit on stage and talk. Everybody doesn't need to be. But everybody has something to contribute, and we must be able to respect that and get the best from everyone.
Sure. I know I said I was nervous, and thanks for kind of taking the stage completely, which is lovely. I have a question, because I've been thinking about this, and I look at women from varied walks of life, and I do feel the intensity of discrimination kind of differs basis the field that you choose. You spoke about new age companies, you spoke about modern day work environments. Do you feel that the field that you choose also defines the intensity of the discrimination? Like, for example, in the movies, where it is so widespread, and we've had a movement where the women have come out and they've spoken so extensively about the kind of discrimination that they've faced. Do you really feel that there are modern day environments that are basically far more conducive to merit-driven ecosystems, where discrimination is not really as prevalent as you would find in traditional environments?
So, okay, I was just doing some reading up on this, and there is like traditional women kind of fields like nursing and all. That's where they say that the men take the glass elevator and women still get stuck with the glass ceiling. So even in the traditional, like even if it's like cooking, like chefs, you'll see more chefs who are male in a traditional so-called female domain. You'll know far more Michelin level chefs who are guys than who are women. So I think it's a society thing, it's a mindset thing. It is also that because of various reasons, women start dropping off at the middle level. So just very few of us reach really to the top level, and coupled with the fact that there are few of us at the top, and sometimes they say that a woman is a woman's worst enemy. So, touching upon a very raw nerve here. But there are times when, people really try to play the politics between women, and just somewhere doesn't add up. Sure. So I really don't think it's to do with domain. Again, another statistic which I saw, I mean, not really numbers here, but glass ceiling also exists for minorities. So if you look at Asians in, let's say, US, but even the men there will do better than the women. So women white is okay, men non-white is okay, women non-white